I see somebody in the chat basically saying, like, I'd be fired up, super chat, if we get Marvin Harrison Jr. But regardless, I'm excited, as Ron says, for the offseason. I appreciate the super chat, and I agree. Like, let's talk about that, Marvin Harrison Jr., because the Cardinals are 3 games away from Marvin Harrison Jr. I can tell you unequivocally, like, the quarterback situation, unless Kyler completely falls apart, K1's going to be your quarterback. If they have the 2nd or 3rd pick, like, they're going to be in a position to take Marvin Harrison Jr. I think they would take Marvin Harrison Jr. over trading back for a quarterback, like situation, somebody coming up to get a quarterback. I still think the Cardinals right now, if you had to ask me today, I think New England loses out. Panthers are not going to win another game. And then the Cardinals potentially could win one more. If the Cardinals win one more game, though, it's going to be difficult with how the Commanders are playing right now. That look a little bit lifeless, moving from 3 to 4. In your opinion, Bo, if the Cardinals beat the Bears, if they somehow beat the Eagles, or if they beat the Seattle Seahawks at home, are you of the opinion that that is detrimental to the long-term health of this team, given the fact that they would subsequently lose out on Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I think you're just looking for positive performances at this point. And if it comes with a win, that's I guess kind of a casualty I think you're willing to absorb.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to get and I love this graphic, seeing a big number 18 there, because he would be an immediate part of the solution for what you're looking for in the lack of productivity from the wide receiver core. But it's not the only option to get better at wide receiver. I mean, even in the draft, when you look at it, like it goes as 5 deep as far as first round caliber wide receivers. And, next on the board is Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze from Washington. You're going to watch him play in the college football playoff semifinals. Keon Coleman, later round. Jaron Polk also playing at Washington. Troy Franklin from Oregon. Johnny Wilson, who's going to be at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. Brendan Rice from USC. His dad's pretty good at football. He's a little bit bigger than his dad, Jerry Rice. 6'3" out of USC. They all fit the mold. And then there's the free agent guys, as I mentioned, Pittman, Higgins, Calvin Ridley, Gabe Davis, Noah Brown, Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
Any of those guys can help your wide receiver core. They're options. You got many of them. And those are guys that aren't under contract, and there's always the surprise sometimes where they become cap casualties. Somebody doesn't fit. Who knows what the trade market looks like? There's going to be opportunities to upgrade.
I agree with everything you just said. You articulated it very well. You painted a picture that we might have to face that reality where you get a Joe Alt and somebody else in the first round. I'm okay with that. But I also feel like Cardinal fans deserve Marvin Harrison Jr. I think we've gone through a disastrous 2-year stretch of watching a team maybe compete this year, not win many football games. You should be rewarded with the best player in college football. If you have a belief in Kyler Murray, which the franchise does, go get the best player in the draft. You're not in a position, if you're Arizona Cardinals, certainly at receiver, to pass on the best player in the draft. The Commanders are your biggest threat right now to potentially, with a gut job coming, steal Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, they play the Jets next week, as people point out in the chat. That's in New York, but that's not a far travel game. Like, let's see if Sam Howell and the early slate can do that.
Yeah.
They also play Dallas the last week of the season. Dallas loses today. If Dallas is in a position where they can't win the division on January 7th, do the Dallas Cowboys, knowing they have to play the next week, sit players? Mm-hmm. I think there's a possibility of that they could be sitting players ahead of the wild card round. So I'm not ready to say the Commanders are completely done, but they are the realistic, option to potentially steal. Because what happened that was important today that we watched, we're not going to talk about what happened in Houston. That was depressing with the Titans in Tennessee. But the Chicago Bears took an L today. Mm-hmm. And for the better part of 2 weeks, we had to hear from our friends at CHGO, Chicago Bear fans, that they're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. first overall.
Right.
The fuck you are. Your quarterback can't complete passes. He was under 50%. Two interceptions today. I like Justin Fields. Eberflus fired. Ryan Poles potentially fired. You think they're going to saddle another head coach GM combination like Jim Harbaugh with Justin Fields? So I do think the Bears might take a receiver. Who knows? They're not taking, you told me before the show, it would be classic Bears incompetence fashion, as much as we love Marvin, to pass on a Caleb Williams and not replace Justin Fields and add just another receiver to the fold.
Yeah, it would be a tough sell. I mean, it's going to be a polarizing decision no matter what they do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because there is, like what the quarterback we have in our own backyard, polarizing nonetheless, and Justin Fields certainly is that. You see the skill set, but you don't see it translating into a lot of wins on the football field for Chicago, and they're at a crossroads, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have to make a decision on his fifth-year option. They're going to just need to make a decision on if he's the guy moving forward with, or do they pivot off for a Caleb Williams or even enter into the conversation a Drake May, the two quarterbacks that are going to be in the conversation. So if they make this late surge, we'll call it, right, a fraudulent win over the Vikings with 4 picks from Joshua Dobbs and no touchdowns, and Joe Flacco, despite throwing 3 interceptions, my God, those are 2 games where they were aided by 7 turnovers from the starting quarterback, and they either squeaked by or just couldn't get it done. Like today, Joe Flacco made enough throws down the stretch for Cleveland when Justin Fields, you can't say the same for that.
You think Kyler Murray would have fun with DJ Moore? I do. They got DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. I know Mooney dropped a touchdown. He's competent. So Justin Fields has won 9 games in his NFL career. Mm-hmm. Kyler Murray has won 22% of that this year. He's won 2 games. That's 22% of Justin Fields' career wins in 3 years in the NFL. So, I mean, he's a solid player.
Yeah.
He's not worth passing on a franchise quarterback at the top of the draft if you're a new regime. Let's get back to these Super Chats.
Let's do it.
Damon Dog, if we could. Ben Cork, $5. Thank you so much, Ben. Higgins has put up a few big plays over the last few games. He has put on some NFL weight and step up in the blocking game, and we have a cheap rookie tight end too. Absolutely. He was a 6th-rounder for a reason. The Cardinals used, I think, their top waiver claim before the season started to bring him in, and they said, Ben, we've had a chance to connect with the team. Like, Trey, the biggest gap for him to start this year was the blocking piece, and I think that's probably what they'll do this offseason is really work with Higgins on that, because you have your 2 tight ends, in my opinion, for next year. Like Jeff Swaim, unfortunately, looks like a serious injury. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. And then Zach Ertz is obviously gone. Like, I think you feel pretty good about the tight end historically has been awful for Arizona. Now it's like one of your strongest positions. Certainly one of your youngest, more athletic groups. Yeah. So I agree with you, Ben.
Well, even with the unfortunate injury to Swaim, who I think his contributions have transcended even the playing field.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're very high on Swaim, and they couldn't believe that Monty Ossenfort was able to get him on the roster before the start of the season. Now, you might scoff at that and say, what's he done? What's his production been? But, like, now it gives another opportunity to another rookie. Like, I think Blake Whiteheart probably, who was inactive, who's had a couple strings of healthy inactive games, I think he now gets his shot, right? And I think that your 3 tight ends are going to be a second-year player in Trey McBride and 2 rookies in Elijah Higgins and Blake Whiteheart. Not too bad. You're going to get to see what these guys are made of.